Conscientious objection is obviously a very, very important issue, and it has been well rehearsed. I do fear we're beginning to stray back into second stage speeches. So if I may, I want to bring it down to the legislation. Conscientious objection is incredibly important, and it is fully protected. It is in the legislation. So there are two parts to it. There is the right of the medical practitioner to not be involved. It is clear as day that that is there, and I've heard no one on any side suggest that it's not. The second issue is what obligations are required in terms of transfer of care. This will apply mainly to GPs. The Minister confirmed to me at committee stage that a GP will have met their obligations around transfer of care by providing the woman with the number for a 24/7 helpline. There may be GPs who believe that even that is too much. The vast majority of GPs who will be conscientiously objecting, who've approached me, have said that they are satisfied with an obligation around transfer of care, which concerns nothing more than giving the woman a 24/7 helpline phone number. So that's it. It's very important, but it is relatively straightforward. And so I want to speak very briefly to the amendments. Amendment 47 gives medical practitioners the ability to conscientiously object. I agree with this amendment from Deputy McGrath and Deputy Nolan and Deputy Tobin and others. I won't be supporting the amendment because it is almost exactly word for word what is already in the legislation. And I've checked and I've double checked, and I can find no difference. So I agree with it, but on the basis that the wording in the legislation has been passed by the AG's office and professional drafters and this hasn't, I'll be sticking with the legislation only for that reason. It is a restatement. But Amendment 48, I think, quite reasonably refers to pharmacists and seeks protection for pharmacists, and pharmacists must be able to conscientiously object. The Minister might reconfirm, as he did at committee, that conscientious objection for pharmacists is fully protected under their own legislation and guidelines. Amendment 49 is my amendment, and we discussed this at committee. I wanted to be very sure that not only are doctors, nurses and midwives completely protected to conscientiously object, but also that students are. Now, I've discussed this with the Minister, and Minister, I want to acknowledge that you have in turn tabled Amendments 52 and 53, which do that. For exactly the same reason that your amendments will have been passed by the AG's office and mine won't. When it comes to it, I will withdraw my amendment and will support yours on the basis that that is the government and AG stamped version, and my understanding is that that will give full protections of conscientious objection to all students, which is obviously very important. Amendment 50 requires someone who conscientiously objects to notify the Minister for Health that they have conscientiously objected. I don't believe that's a reasonable thing for them to have to do, and I will not be supporting that. Amendment 51 would delete the obligation for referral. I believe if a GP, or there may be other cases, it may be a midwife, it may be a nurse, if the only obligation on them, their ability to conscientiously object is fully protected. The Minister confirmed at committee, and might do so again, that it is protected in general practice. It is also protected in an acute setting, so a midwife or nurse or doctor can inform their employer that they are conscientiously objecting and therefore cannot be rostered on and cannot be sort of coerced into being involved, which I think is very important. Amendment 51, however, would delete any obligation of referral. Now, I won't be supporting this for a few reasons. First of all, my understanding from the doctors I've spoken to is it is standard medical practice here and around the world that no doctor will simply wash their hands of a patient and say, I am leaving you in the situation you're in. And as Deputy Kelleher said earlier on, while that might not pose too much of a problem for some women who are presenting in Ireland, actually there are others for whom it could. They could be in a situation of great distress. They may have been raped. They may be being coerced. There's all manner of reasons where women in very vulnerable situations will present to a GP. I do not believe that it is reasonable for any doctor to say, I'm simply not getting involved and off you go. They do have an obligation. If that obligation is no more than saying, look, there is a 24/7 helpline, it is staffed all of the time by qualified medical professionals. They will be able to talk to you. They will be able to talk to you about counselling. They will be able to talk to you about the options available. And if you wish, they will be able to direct you to a GP who has opted in. If the only thing that the doctor has to do is provide that telephone number, I think that is absolutely reasonable. And so I don't believe that the referral should be deleted. Amendments 52 and 53 are from the Minister, which I will be supporting. Because they make sure the conscientious objection covers students, which is very important. And Amendment 54, again, is around pharmacists. I won't be supporting this amendment, not because I don't believe pharmacists should be protected. I think they absolutely should be, and the Minister hopefully will clarify the legislation under which they are fully protected. So that, as far as I can see, is the situation with conscientious objection. They're the amendments before us, and maybe the Minister, when he contributes, will be able to give clarity on various of the very pressing issues raised. Thank you, Chair.